Hey everybody, Miranda here. I just wanted to come on and in continuation with the short little small videos that I've been doing and discuss the origins of Satan and Lucifer, who he is, what the word says about him, what his origins are, what him and his fallen angels came down and taught man. This is vitally important, and I don't believe enough people go over this, because what him and his fallen angels taught man is literally everything that we deal with here on this earth, not only to the corrupt world system, but all of the sin and all of the different things that these angels and stuff taught mankind is what we deal with today. You can even find some of these things in Christian homes. And so I think it's just really important in these last days to really be aware of who the adversary is, who our enemy is. This is not to glorify the devil. This is not to glorify evil. This is to equip and educate Christians and believers on who our enemy is, so that we aren't in bed with him and that we aren't partnering with him, whether consciously or subconsciously or knowing and unknowing, and that we can just be fully in with Christ and have more discernment in these last days. And so this is going to be in several different parts, because I want to make these pretty short and sweet and to the point, but still be very informational. I want to first and foremost give a shout out to Kevin Zadai. I got a lot of this material from his study guide titled Understanding Holy Fire. So just give credit, because I didn't come up with this information. This is just everything that I've learned thus far. I'm still learning. I don't know it all, but I just feel like what I have here is important to grasp. So in Ezekiel 28 is the first place that I want to go with you, and it gives us a picture of who Satan is, his origins, and how he became corrupted. So it says, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you. And then it lists the stones. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared for you, so I ordained you. Oh, you were the anointed as a guardian cherub. For so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence, and you sinned. I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. By your many sins and dishonest trade, you have desecrated your sanctuaries. So I made a fire come out from you, and it consumed you. And I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. Hang on, let me get... So it goes on, but in this study guide by Kevin Zadai called Understanding Holy Fire, he goes on to point out the significance of certain verses that I just read to you of how Satan rules our world today. These verses explain that Lucifer inserted himself and corrupted the sanctuaries from his multitude of iniquity and trading. So he points out the word trading. Lucifer became a middleman when we did not need a middleman. The whole world system is built upon this very verse. If you think about buying a house or going to a bank, you always have to go through somebody to get something. Whenever there's a middleman, whenever there's someone inserted that takes a cut or takes something, you can't just go to the source and get it yourself. That entire concept is what some of these verses are saying. So that is a corrupt system. This verse also says that Satan was the epitome of perfection. He walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones that are in the throne room of heaven. He was perfect from the days of his creation until iniquity was found in him. Iniquity meaning the sin of self-will. Out of jealousy, he got man to eat of God's tree, and it took everybody away from God. In addition, this verse explains how Satan was over sanctuaries in heaven. He was able to get some of the angels and beings in heaven whom he was over to follow him in his transgressions against God. So he was over sanctuaries. He was over people. Like if you think of a military, he was a certain rank and he had people under him. And these people under him are the ones that followed him when he was thrown out of heaven onto earth. It also says that Satan was a cherub, not an angel. A lot of people call him an angel, but he was a being. He was a cherub. And cherubim are actually really close to God. If you look in the word, cherubim is what covers the face of the Father. And so those are just important things to take note of before we go further. So let me get my other notes here that I want to say. So in Isaiah 14, we see more about who Lucifer was. We'll go, "Oh, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne before the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High, yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit. Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world as a wilderness and destroyed its cities?" So in continuing with some of Kevin's notes, he found that in English, Satan's name is translated as Lucifer, but in Hebrew, he found that Satan's original name was Hillel, and so Hillel has the name El in it. So Lucifer is the fallen being, but who was Lucifer's name when he was holy, when he was heavenly, and that is Hillel. So if you notice, other names of angels in the Bible have El in them: Michael, Gabriel, Israel, and so on and so forth. So this name has the idea of brightness. It is a bright and shiny one. In the scripture, you can see the effects of what happened when Lucifer, Hillel, fell. He destroyed the earth, shook kingdoms and people. So think of, this is where the deception I see creeping in, because when you think of, oh, I'm not worshiping Satan, I'm not in bed with Satan, you're thinking of a red face with devil horns who is blatantly evil, and you're like, I could never partner with that. But no, you could be partnering with something, because this is a person who was beautiful, wise, and was like an angel, was a being. So he's not going to masquerade as this super, I mean, he can do that. But oftentimes the word tells us that he masquerades around like an angel of light. So sometimes this is where the deception lies. And what will happen in the end days is people will partner with evil, thinking that it is good and it is glorifying God. So that's why I think it's important to really just go through step by step and understand who our enemy is, so we don't fall to these deceptions. So let me get my other notes here. So that's what the scriptures say that who Hillel, Lucifer, was. Some other scriptures. So in Satan's fall, I said that he brought angels with him, that he deceived. Luke 10:18 says, "And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." 2 Peter 2:4 says, "For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the day of judgment." Revelation 12:7-9 says, "Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Jude 1:6 says, and the angels who did not stay with their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling. Remember, he corrupted his sanctuaries. He has kept in eternal chains until gloomy darkness, until the day of judgment. So here's what the word tells us. It's obvious that angels followed Satan. And it's obvious that these angels are not the demons that we deal with today. They are chained and they are awaiting their judgment. They came down, they taught man to sin, and we will go through what exactly they taught them. And every single thing they taught mankind is what we deal with today. Every occult practice today believes this story, but they believe that Lucifer, Hillel, whoever you want to call him, and his angels were good guys, that they are a gift from God to mankind because they brought wisdom and enlightenment and magic and all of these things that gave man power, opened their eyes, and caused them to be like God. So, if we would all realize that Satan and his angels are good and everything they taught us is good, the sooner we can all realize that, the sooner we can all elevate into a higher self and a higher involved being and a higher consciousness, and pain and suffering and things of this world would go away. Christians are the ones holding us back from this utopian worldview because of our old-fashioned, outdated Bible and traditions. And so we need to come into the new Jesus. We need to come into believing these kinds of things in order for mankind to elevate. That may sound crazy, but that is the core of the Luciferian doctrine, and it's taught in every secret society, every cult practice, in some form or the other, maybe not exactly the way I said it, but some form or the other. Even the New Age has some of these belief systems in it. So are we partnering with those? We're going to go through the origins of the occult. Who was Aleister Crowley? Who was Helena Blavatsky? Who was Alice Bailey? Who were these people that channeled information, got information from fallen spirits, which we'll go through and find out what the origins of these spirits are. And we will break down the origins of these things. So when you spot it, when you're going through life, because it's coming mainstream, it's trendy. It is trendy to do these things. And we must be careful not to fall in line with these things that were that were taught by the fallen angels. Because the story has been warped. Every culture has this story, and it may change from culture to culture, but this is a common thread, a common theme throughout history, throughout culture, and we need to understand what we're up against. So this is a foundation, and in the next video, we'll talk about the fallen angels and what they did to corrupt mankind, to provoke the Lord, the reason for the flood, and we'll go through these occult masters and what their philosophies are, and then we'll go through our modern times now and pinpoint exactly what is being inserted in things that you and I pay for, you and I support, and that we need to start praying about and see how we can disconnect ourselves from these things. So that's all I have for now.